Lesson 78 is on rational equations. I think the best way to learn about this is to just do some problems. So just think of rational. We know that that means a ratio or a fraction. So these are equations that will have fractions in them. We'll solve them for an unknown value, just like we have solved other types of algebraic equations. We'll have a different first step though. Fractions, sometimes those are kind of a pain to work with, so why make the process more complicated? Let's go ahead and get rid of the fraction parts first. And the way we do that is multiply every term by the least common multiple of the denominators. And so that's our multiplicative property of equality, right? If we multiply every term by the same non-zero number, we don't change the equation, we just change the way it looks. So first, let's make everything in this equation look like a fraction. So that means we'd have to put that x over 1. And so we see that our denominators are 3, 5, and 1. So the lowest common multiple of those denominators would be a 15. Now 30, that's also a common multiple of those three numbers, but it's not the lowest common multiple. So we have lots of practice figuring out what the lowest common multiple is. So that's what we'll use is 15 on this. And we multiply every term by 15. And what that is going to do for us is get rid of the fraction, or get rid of the denominator. So look at that first term. 15 over 3 will simplify to a 5. 15 over 5 will simplify to a 3. And then 15 over 1 just simplifies to 15. Now we don't have any fractions left. We just simplify this to 5x minus 3 is equal to 15x. Now, doesn't that look a whole lot easier to work with than all those fractions? I mean, it just took one extra step to do that, but it should probably save you some time and also some possible mistakes in the long run. Let's go ahead and solve this. Let's move the x over to the right side, and so we'd subtract 5x from both sides, and we end up with negative 3 equals 10x. Divide both sides by 10, we get x equals negative 3 over 10 as an answer. So step 1 was to find the least common multiple between the denominators. Step 2 was to multiply every term on both sides of the equal sign by that least common multiple. Then we can cancel our fractions, and then we solve it just like we do all other algebraic equations in one unknown. Let's do another one. B plus 2 over 7 plus 1/3 equals B over 6. Let's go ahead and put that sum in parentheses there. And our first step will be to get rid of the fractions. We do that by finding the least common multiple of the denominators. So look at those denominators, 7, 3, and 6. We'd have to multiply 7 times 3 times 2. That would be 42. That's our denominator. So we multiply every term by 42. And this will get rid of the denominator. That's what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to make everything have a denominator of 42. We're trying to get rid of the denominator. So we can just work with whole numbers. So we do 42 over 6 is 7 there. 42 over 3, that'll be 14. And then 42 over 7 is 6. So now we don't have to worry about our denominators. All of the denominators are just 1 now, so we can ignore them. So now, starting from the left, let's go ahead and expand that out. 6 times b is 6b. And then 6 times 2, that'll be plus 12. Then we have 14 plus a 14 equals 7 times b. Okay, now we can go ahead and simplify this. On the left side, we can say 6b plus 26, that's equal to 7b. And then we can subtract 6b from both sides, and you can probably just do that in your head. If you subtract 6b from both sides, the right side will just become b, and so there's our answer. B equals 26. Now you can always check your work to make sure that that answer is the correct one. You can do that by substituting back into the original equation. And so if we substitute back into the original equation, we'd put 26 plus 2, or 28 over 7. That would be 4, and then add 1/3 to that. That's 4 1/3. So that's what the left side equals. The right side is equal to 26 over 6, which is 4 2/6, or 4 1/3. So that is correct. 26 is what the answer is. Let's do one more. Look at this problem. We want to solve this for x, and we have fractions, so we want to get rid of the fractions first. We do that by finding the least common multiple of the denominators and multiply every term by that least common multiple. So look at that. We have a 5, a 4, and a 6. So we need to say 5 times 2 times 2 times 3. That would equal 60. So that's our least common multiple for the denominators is 60. Multiply every term by 60. And that will cancel our denominators. 60 over 5 is 12. 60 over 4, that's equal to 15. 60 over 6 is 10. Now we don't have denominators to deal with, so this will be a lot easier to work with now. Let's just go ahead and expand where we need to. On the left, 12 times x is 12x, and then 12 times -3 is -36. Then we'll add to that 15 times x is 15x, and 15 times 2 is 30. This equals 1 times 10 is 10. Next, we'll simplify by adding like terms. On the left, we have a 12x and a 15x, so that'll be 27x. And then add the -36 and 30. That'll be a -6 is equal to 10. Add 6 to both sides, and now we have 27x is equal to 16. We can divide both sides by 27. X equals 16 over 27. Now we can't reduce that at all, so we'll leave the answer like that. So when we multiply a group of fractions by the least common multiple of the denominator, we can get rid of the denominators, and we won't have fractions to work with anymore. That makes solving these problems a whole lot easier. Okay, well that's all for lesson 78.